They arrived smiling. Too wide, too rehearsed. The kind of smile people practice in the mirror before walking into a room that doesn't belong to them. "Sweetheart," my mother cooed, as if the word hadn't turned to ash in her mouth 8 years ago. My father's hand rested on her back, steadying her performance. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched them lower themselves into the leather chairs across from me at my uncle's will reading. They had no right to be there, but that didn't stop them. 8 years. That's how long it had been since the night they left me standing in the rain with a duffel bag and a promise I was too naive to believe. "We'll come back for you." They never did. It was my uncle who took me in, a stern man with a surgeon's precision in everything he did. He didn't waste words, he didn't waste time, but he didn't waste people either. He gave me something my parents never could: permanence. And when cancer hollowed him out and silence filled the hallways of that mansion, I stayed. I was there at his bedside when he took his final breath. Not them, me. I noticed their game the moment they walked in. My mother's perfume, strong enough to mask desperation. My father's cufflinks, borrowed, too shiny for a man with no job to his name. They weren't here to mourn, they were here to feed. When the executor unfolded the document, my heart pounded, once, heavy, then steadied. I already knew. My uncle had told me himself. The house, the cars, the business accounts, and $3 million tucked safely into a trust. When my name left the lawyer's lips, I didn't flinch, but they did. Their smiles stiffened, and then, like clockwork, they pivoted. "We're her legal guardians," my father said, his voice smooth, rehearsed, oily. "Naturally, that makes all this ours to oversee." Guardians. The word hung there, sour. I leaned back, silent, letting them choke on their performance. I wanted to see how far they'd go. I remembered the first signs of betrayal, years before this day. The calls they stopped answering, the birthdays they forgot, the bills they dumped on my uncle while they disappeared into whatever gutter they crawled through. Back then, the pain was sharp, crippling. I waited at windows, checked the mailbox, prayed to a silence that never answered. But silence taught me patience, and patience taught me how to hunt. I didn't scream when they resurfaced at the will reading. I didn't accuse. I didn't fold into the broken child they expected. Instead, I smiled. Small, controlled, a predator's smile, because I had been preparing for this moment. My uncle wasn't just wealthy, he was meticulous. Every document, every account, every clause in his will was fortified like a fortress. He knew who my parents were, he knew what they'd try, and together we built walls they could never climb. The guardianship claim? Dead before it started. At 18, I was legally untouchable. And even if I hadn't been, the trust wasn't written in my name alone. It was written in my uncle's company, locked with stipulations my parents could never satisfy. I signaled my lawyer. He stepped into the room like a knife being unsheathed. His presence sliced the air. Papers in hand, his voice calm but lethal. "Actually," he said, laying down the documents, "your claim holds no standing. The court terminated your parental rights when you abandoned her. This record," he tapped the stamped decree, "is permanent." The color drained from their faces. My mother's hand trembled on her lap. My father shifted, jaw tightening, but the fight had already bled out of him. I watched them unravel in silence. That was the best part. Silence. No screaming match, no dramatics, just the steady collapse of their little con. They hadn't expected me to be ready. They thought I'd be the same abandoned child, desperate for scraps. They forgot my uncle raised me, and he raised me well. The climax wasn't the money, It wasn't the house. It wasn't even watching them squirm under the lawyer's words. It was when I leaned forward, finally breaking my silence. "You left me once," I said, my voice even, deliberate. "That was the only gift you ever gave me." Their eyes flickered. Shame, rage, fear. And I knew then they understood. They had lost. After the reading, they left in silence, their footsteps echoing down the marble hall. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Their story in my life had ended. The house was mine. The fortune, secure. But more important than all of it was the control. For once, they couldn't take anything from me. I walked through the mansion that night, past portraits of a man who saved me, into a study that still smelled of his cologne. I poured a glass of his whiskey, the bottle he'd been saving for when the time was right.